As we prepare to close out Black History Month, we take a look now at an African-American family fighting for their history, tied to the land their ancestors once toiled on as slaves, later working to own it. A railroad now trying to take part of it through eminent domain, promising it will bring more jobs. The conflict could go all the way to the Supreme Court. Senior national correspondent Steve Osunsami has more in tonight's Prime Focus.
History will tell you that the railroad helped put America on the right track. When back in the 1800s, these iron horses first started moving people and their goods across the land. All of a sudden, it took only 4 days to cross the country, instead of 30. It's one of the reasons it made sense to give railroads, which in most cases are still privately owned, some of the same powers to claim someone else's land as a power company, an airport, or even a public school system.
You'll never sell?
No.
No matter, no price?
No.
I don't want that through here. I don't want that here. If I sell it, there's going to be a train there.
Forever. At my age, I'm ready to fight. Bring it. I'm not going to let this happen to me.
"72-year-old Blaine Smith, his wife Diane, his brother Mark next door, and his wife Janet are fighting centuries of history and U.S. law that still say a privately owned railroad can knock on their door in Middle Georgia and tell them that they need to sell a 3/4-mile strip of their land that's been home to their family since slavery.
It's going to go up on the other side of the ponds and go on right down through that way, over here. Yeah.
And not to build a park or a train station that they too might use, but for a business interest that the railroad says will help everyone. A new 4-mile stretch of rail line that would lead to a rock quarry and a handful of other businesses on the other side of the Smith family property. Right now, the quarry uses trucks, but if the railroad gets its way, the new train line could make the quarry and the railroad a lot more money.
I feel that we were targeted. This particular community was targeted because it is a Black community. We've been labeled poor and Black for so long, and how are we going to fight back?
Is what's happening here racism?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yes, it's racism. We didn't want to use that word. We didn't want to say that.
Trying to stay away from it.
But that's why we have a quarry right here in this neighborhood.
It's not for sale. My grandfather bought this place in 1928. You know, and one of the things that my daddy always told me was, don't you ever sell this place.
This is my father and my family.
Their family story is the very definition of Black history in America and hangs on the walls above a fireplace in the main farmhouse.
My great-grandmother, who was his wife at that time, but she had passed away here, was born a slave on the property.
That great-grandmother was born here a slave on what was then the Dixon Plantation near Sparta, Georgia, a few hours south of Atlanta. And her father was the slave master. She had children with this man, David Dixon, a farmer who was white and able to keep his family safe from the racial violence of their time. This was one of their daughters, a girl named Helen, who married James Blaine Smith and started buying up some 600 acres of property in the late 1920s. Their oldest son was this man, James Adolph Smith, who married his wife Carolyn and told his 6 children that they should never sell any of it.
And I can tell you that from his dying bed.
Yes. He said, keep it whole.
Keep it whole. Keep it in the family.
About 2 years ago, the brothers and other family who still farm trees on the land started getting letters from this man, who also has his own long family history down here in the country.
I just think that, rural Georgia needs opportunity.
Benjamin Tarbutton III, seen here in his high school yearbook, is president of the Sandersville Railroad. He says he could have moved to the big city after college. Atlanta, coincidentally, was built by railroads. But he came back home to hard-pressed rural Georgia to run the family business. It was started by a great-grandfather of his same name in 1916. And he says the new rail line to the rock quarry could lead to at least a dozen permanent jobs and could help get this place growing again. He told us to go take a look in town and see the sad storefronts that have looked this way for more than 30 years. And while he wouldn't say how much he was offering the black landowners, he told us he's still trying to get them to willingly sell small portions of their land.
And the thing I share with the family members I've met with is, I'm a landowner too. I've been on their side of the table really all the time, except now. And the thing that we always have done is we tried to get as much money as we could, but we always worked with them. And that's what we're asking folks to do with us now.
Whatever he offered, okay, was not what it would have been worth if we went to sell it. They tried to minimize the impact of a train cutting directly through your property.
There is this argument, of course, that, they didn't ask for this.
I understand that.
You're not in that same spot.
Right.
You have the power of eminent domain.
Right. I mean, it's a tough deal. The infrastructure of this country. I mean, if eminent domain did not exist, we would not have everything that's a part of modern day Georgia, modern day America.
The power of eminent domain usually belongs to government, like a state highway department, or a public utility, like a gas company. And it's usually for building something everyone can use, like Central Park in New York, or Hoover Dam near Las Vegas. And it often feels enormously cruel to landowners, allowing the city of New London, Connecticut, for example, to condemn this little pink house in 1997. Mrs. Suzette Kelo went all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court because they were taking her land to build a $300 million research center for the Pfizer drug company. And in a decision that still shocks people today that the families in Georgia hope they can help overturn, the court ruled against her, saying that economic development was a good enough reason to condemn her land and sell it to private developers. Homes and lives were destroyed, and in the end, the new research center was never built.
We have currently a petition pending before the U.S. Supreme Court in a case out of New York trying to overturn that Kelo decision. If that case is not the one that is going to do it, this certainly could be the case that makes it up there.
Mike Greenberg is from the same legal group that fought for Suzette Kelo. They flew south and are helping the Georgia families for free.
The real issue here is it a public or private use? That's correct.
At a hearing a few weeks ago, the judge said more than once that he felt for the families, most of them African American, who crowded his courtroom.
I'm very sympathetic to the landowners, and if I ruled from what I thought was morally right, I would absolutely rule in your favor.
2 weeks later, he ruled for the railroad, pointing to the law, but he won't let Mr. Tarbutton condemn the land until the families get another chance with a higher court.
People are accusing you and your businesses that if these families were white, that perhaps there would be a different treatment, you might have gone to a different way.
Well, I think that's a gross mischaracterization. We came up with a straight line from point A to point B, and we didn't know who the property owners were at that time, much less what they looked like.
When you hear people say that, as they did in court, that this feels like a transfer of wealth,
I just disagree with that. I mean, we're benefiting from the aggregate rock that's going to be going from that quarry to whatever plant, whatever use, whether it's to for road building, for asphalt, for concrete.
From the sky, you can see that he's continued to build his new rail line, or spur as they call it, right up to the Smith family properties on land that other neighbors have already agreed to sell. He's recently connected these tracks to a much larger CSX rail line that stretches up and down the East Coast, allowing his customers to sell far away more easily. In a statement, the owners of the quarry say that it will soon be able to produce and transport several times its current annual volume, and that this will also benefit the local economy with increased expenditures on fuel, electricity, supplies, food, and catering.
Okay, good.
But those who hope in the Lord will inherit the land.
The Smiths are now hoping a court will let them honor their father's dying wish to keep the land whole.
So morally, remember what the judge was saying? Morally, I think we're winning.
But are you winning legally? Laws don't have to be moral.
I want people to remember this is America, where we are always given the right to freedom and not be encumbered with other people coming in and trying to take away or steal that little piece of serenity.
Anything and everything you have that you love is worth fighting for. Don't ever quit fighting for it.